Hey guys, HuShang here. Welcome to another HuShang tutorials video. Today we're going to be looking at how to defend the 12 pool. So we're going to break this up into two parts. In the first half of this video, we're going to look at the theory. So basically playing against the AI and showing you how to respond correctly. And then we're also going to look at an example game I played on ladder. So let's get right into it. And we're going to kind of assume you know how to open up standard against Zerg. We'll go through that a little bit. So you're making your probes, you're going to make your first pylon on 14. So far you won't really know it's a 12 pool, obviously. I'm going to show you exactly when you're going to identify that and how to do so. 16 gate. I like to do my chrono boost here right as soon as the pylon finishes. And then your gate. And scout. It's very important that you scout after gate. If you scout any later than this, it's going to be really difficult to defend the 12 pool. So that's the latest scout you want to be doing. You can also do a pylon scout, but that's another topic for a different video. So your scout's going across the map. You still don't know it's a 12 pool. So you got to keep that in mind when you're practicing, not to metagame your opponent. So you come in here, you see that there's no hatch. I'm going to pause because remember this is like an AI, so they're going to be doing something a little bit different. But assuming they're 12 pooling, we're not going to see any hatch here. We're going to see nothing. And when we come up the ramp, we're going to see either 3 larvae turn into eggs or 3 eggs already being created all at the same time. And that's not really normal for Zerg. Usually they're going to be trying to add drones as fast as they can to get more economy. So if you see 3 eggs, that's a big hint that it's a 12 pool. I mean, they could have bad macro, but it's a good hint. And then we're going to double check and just make sure that their pool is complete. If it's not complete, it's not a 12 pool. If it's just started, then it's going to be a totally different build. But if their pool is complete and they have 3 eggs, then that's a 12 pool. Okay, so we're gonna start our response right about here after we see the eggs. So what I want you to do is just grab one of your probes from the main, bring that down to the natural, and then we're just gonna confirm. So we'll do something like this. Grab this guy, confirm the pool is complete, and then so this is where we have like 100% knowledge that it's a 12 pool. So from here, our reaction is going to be to add a second gate instead of a nexus, make a zealot, and a cyber. And then we're also going to throw down one more pylon. So this is our 12 pool response. Obviously, there's a lot going on at this point, so you're going to want to practice this and do it proficiently. If you don't get the zealot on time, it's going to be a lot harder to defend, but actually the example game shows that a little bit, so we'll look at that in a second. But we make a zealot, that's going to finish in time for the Zerglings if you do it correctly, and so we're off to the races. So their Zerglings are going to come out right now, and they're going to be coming across the map. Your zealot's on the way. You can maybe block their hatch if you want. Sometimes if you block their hatch, they're going to send their Zerglings back home. That's a big advantage for you, so you might want to try to do that a little bit. But in general, we're just gonna wait for the zealot to come out. It should be done before the Zerglings get here, and then from that point, you are going to chrono some adepts out. If they're a strong player, they might poke at your other buildings. You might have to micro this out a little bit, but we'll look at that in the example video. Okay, double adept and chrono these. So it's worth noting here that we only have 100 energy, so we have exactly enough to chrono the 2 adepts. If you chrono the zealot earlier, then you're not going to be able to chrono these 2 adepts. So you got to be super careful that you don't chrono that, unless you really need to, like unless you got your zealot super late. But this is a much more efficient way to do it, and the advantage of doing it this way is you're going to have these 2 adepts to do a little bit of a counter attack. Behind these adepts, you're going to make your nexus, you're going to make your pylon, You need an additional pylon compared to normal. just because we're making all these extra units. So make sure you don't forget that. And then you can just transition like normal. You're going to get your gas, you're going to make lots of probes. And then we're going to try to get a little bit of counter damage with these two adepts. And so the idea here is that since they 12 pulled, they shouldn't have Zergling speed. And if they did get the speed, you should be able to scout that with your probe. So we're assuming that they don't have any Zergling speed. So we're going to be able to get quite a bit of damage with these two adepts that can one-shot Zerglings, one-shot drones. So we should get quite a bit of damage here with these adepts. And then behind this, go into whatever tech you want. Like you can go into Stargate, you can go into Twilight Robo, just a Robo. There's tons of options. Basically whatever you would normally do is fine to go into after this. And yeah, then you should get into a nice position. Should be a little bit ahead compared to normal. As long as you don't get too messed up in your build. And you should have a nice game. So yeah, let's go into the example game on ladder. Okay guys, welcome to part 2. We're going to be looking at this ladder game I played against Loki. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So we're just going to be doing the standard opening, getting our pylon at the natural, grabbing our gate, and then scouting. And again, it's really important that you do this scout at this time, because otherwise you're not going to realize that it's 12 pull in time to do the response we talked about. So here's our probe coming in. Right here's where you're going to start to be suspicious. Normally you should see the hatchery here. So the fact that we don't see it already is kind of triggering to me that there's some sort of early pressure coming. Right? It could be a lot of builds. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 12 pull. It could be a 12 pull, it could be 14-14. 14-14, and it could be 17-17. So these are just 3 common builds that you might see. If you don't know what those are, you might want to look them up. So we're kind of concerned about any of those possibilities, but we're going to get a little bit more confirmation when the probe gets in here. So we're looking for the larva and we're looking for the pool timing. Okay, so in this game we get both at the same time. So we see that there's 3 eggs building, so that's a signal by itself. And then we also see that the pool is complete. So we pretty much have all the info we need to know that we're going to do the 2-gate response. Maybe the only additional info you want is whether they're playing the gasless 12 pull or some sort of like really crazy all-in, which is not the one we're going to talk about today. So you got to confirm that there's no gas, basically. Come in here, see no gas, get out, and maybe make sure they expand as well. So all of this points to some early pressure with the Zerglings and then into a macro game. Okay, so we're starting our response. Again, our response is to add on a 2nd gate and then to get our Cyber and a Zealot. Excuse me. So in this game, I actually get my Zealot a little bit late, I believe. So not crazy late, but these seconds are going to matter. So 2 or 3 seconds late, his Zerglings are already a little bit away. So what I'm going to do is just play it safe in a second, and you'll see what I mean. So we got all our stuff on the way, we just need a pylon. Normally if you make this Zealot on time, you won't have to do what I'm about to do. But just to give myself a little bit of an edge, since this Zealot was late, I made this pylon here. And so he's going to have to kill this before he can get to my Zealot. So a little bit of a delay. And now I can get that out safely. And I can cancel this pylon now. It's kind of done its purpose. And then from here, you're basically just trying to get out 2 adepts. And he's being sneaky. He's trying to kill my Cyber here. It's kind of in a bad position. Maybe it was better to put it back here so less Zerglings could hit it. But what we're going to do is kind of come back and forth. If you're in the lower leagues, you probably don't have to do this. But if you're playing someone who's trying to get the most out of their Zerglings, then what you want to do is put your probe in the wall. And then just kind of have your Zealot come back and forth and try to not really fight the Zerglings necessarily, but have them come away from attacking your Cyber. So you can see me kind of run back and forth here. This Zergling is not supposed to be in the control group. So I think I'll fix that in a second. But basically just making sure as many Zerglings as possible can fight it. Now, like I said earlier, this cybercore is a little bit improperly placed, so I'm gonna have to build another one in a second. But it's not a big deal, to be honest. So here I'm just trying to get him to chase the Zealot. If he would chase it with all the Zerglings, then I would probably have time to get out the Adepts and not lose the Cyber. So that was the idea. But he didn't go for it. He didn't take the bait, so I just made the additional Cyber instead. Got out the Adept, and now we're pretty fine. So from here you can grab your Nexus, you can get your tech, and you can go into the macro game. I could play this game out, but it's basically just I go into DT and he dies. Maybe I'll fast forward it. But if you see here, we have a great lead already. We're up 5 workers, and Zerg doesn't have a third hatch, which they normally would. So I think this is a nice position. They also don't have speed, right? Like they're pretty delayed with a lot of their tech and stuff. Maybe we'll watch the Adepts actually. But yeah, he's super delayed. So even if we play this game right now, I think we're in a pretty good spot, and that's without doing any damage with the Adepts. Sorry, we'll watch the Adepts go, just so you can see how that looks. Here he's being, I think this is the correct move. You just wait over here, wait till the Adepts go out, and then try to come in. So what you're going to want to do is just make a pylon here, or you could just make a second, another unit after your Adepts go out, and just wait till it finishes and then go counterattack. That's fine. This is a little bit tighter, using the pylon to kind of delay him, and then that way we can get our Adepts out a little bit faster, but obviously this is a little bit more difficult to execute. And then once you get across the map, what you're going to want to do is shade into the main, and then try to pick off some drones over here as your Adepts go into position, and then you can shade across and try to get some more drones over there. And I mean, you could do different shading techniques depending on where the Zerglings are, but this is the most common. And then you could go for drones here. I actually think it's better if you just kill as many lings as possible, because if you go for drones, they can pull them away. So you might only get like 2, and then the Zerglings will have killed a lot of your health, so you can't really kill the Zerglings anymore. But if you go for Zerglings first, especially if they're slowlings, then you can kind of kill them all and then go for drones, and that'll force him to make more lings or lose drones anyways. So we got like what, 6 lings, 3 drones. This is super successful. We didn't really need to get any damage, like I said earlier, and so now we're in a really great position where he hasn't had his third base. He's even in workers, which is terrible for Zerg, and we got tech on the way. So really nice position for us. And then if I just fast forward this game, I go for DT drop this game. And if you want to know how to DT drop, I just did a guide on that, so you can check out that build order. This is of course slightly different because we're kind of going from a different opening, but we do the DT drop, and we have our 2 Adepts kind of doing some damage over here. And because he's so far behind from the opening, he doesn't really have time to get his lair and his Zergling speed, and he didn't really have time to drone too much. So we just ended up winning with these DTs. So yeah, hopefully you like this guide. If you watched the end of the video, you probably did. So give me a like, give me a subscription, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.